we walked in and we've had a great team there working, and we were like out of the office on like meetings, or we went for like a walk to brainstorm or something like this. When we walked in and like everybody's like working, kind of making impact, and I was like, me and you both kind of looked at each other and it's like, oh wow, we've actually built a team here. They're actually coming to work, they're actually doing projects, we're actually like exactly in that environment that we wanted to create. That's where like I felt that, okay, this is working.
I remember the rush of happiness over me going,
we built something here.
And this was a concept that we started in a classroom in Clare
next door.
Like,
yeah.
And we now have an office next door. Yeah.
You know, we built something that's actually like working.
And it was always the way that we were driven by our mentor, is that set very ambitious revenue targets. You shoot higher, you'll probably end up high, even if you don't hit it, or maybe you do hit it, which is amazing, but even if you shoot and get anywhere close to it, that's amazing. We're back with another episode of Built from Scratch.
Welcome back to episode 5. Good to see you, Daragh.
Good to see you too, Eric. But before we kick off, let's do a quick introduction of ourselves.
That we've forgotten over the last few episodes.
We're trying to learn slowly but surely.
Yeah, that's right. I'll kick off. My name is Erik. I'm 24 years old. I started an agency with you about 6.5 years ago. We were doing software development, social media and everything, and we pivoted into different ventures recently. I'm now advising some companies, and I'm in the education space as well. And we have a shared venture called Skypark also.
We do, and we also have a shared venture called Built from Scratch podcast.
That's right, actually. Yeah, let's not forget the podcast.
So obviously I started my agency with you at 17. I exited this year. I'm currently starting a company called Magnate, which is going to transform messaging and task management for people who receive large amounts of messaging and have multiple ways in which they receive messages. So we're currently looking to take over the game on that. So
let's go.
Yeah. But anyways, we've got a few lessons here today. But anyways, before you do that, how's your week been?
My week's been good. I've been traveling a lot this week. Like I've been driving, like it's you know, coming up to the first week of December, and like literally I've been on the road all week. So I've been going to customers, meeting them and seeing, are we, you know, renewing contracts? Is there new opportunities? So I'm just kind of doing that Q4 final touch. It was just Black Friday there recently as well. So there was a lot of hype, a lot of client requests in the agency world. So I've been busy. How's your week?
You're pretty good. Like we have a big week next week. We have our end of pre-accelerator event, which I'm showcasing in front of the whole.
You've been waiting for that one for a while.
Yeah, 6 weeks. And then I have my New Frontiers Phase 2 application interview Monday morning in Dublin in front of a panel. So again, just been doing pure pitch work this week, and then doing a lot of product stuff as well. So again, it's been a really good momentum week. Yeah, really good momentum week, and really feel like traction's building, which is exciting. So you know, momentum builds momentum. So yeah, really good momentum weeks.
Exciting. Can we acknowledge that we're actually doing a comfortable podcast recording today by episode 5? Yeah, because like the last few, we've just been in the office, in the storeroom, you know, cuddled up in the corner, but it is what it is. So today it's a little bit more comfortable. We're actually sitting down properly.
Cuddled up is an interesting way to
to be fair. Yeah, we were just comfortable in the corner. It's probably a better way to describe it.
Exactly. But no, good weeks, and I suppose we're coming into the first week of December, so it's kind of I think we always try and have a hard push up until Christmas, because then the whole business community shuts down for 3-4 weeks really.
Yeah.
So it's the only time of the entire year where the whole kind of business community in the Western world anyways goes, right, we all collectively agree we're going to like shut off for a few weeks.
Yeah, no. Do you agree with shutting off for a few weeks, or what's your thoughts around that?
We're ramping up right now, so I'm not going to be.
It's like the worst thing for you right now to even think about it.
My desire with currently, especially with Magnet, is momentum, and I don't want to break that. And I suppose I communicated to the team that, guys, we're going to work through this period. Obviously, have some time off for family, but like I want to come into the new year with a bang, and we really have been building for the last 6 months. So. Not really shut off period for me. Obviously spend some time with family and close ones, but my desire is to keep the momentum going, so that when middle of January rolls back around and everyone's back bums and seats in offices, ready. We're rocking and rolling, we're in a really strong position. So it'll be a lot of product work around that time, and a lot of I suppose getting sales and marketing collateral together. So
I agree with that. This year I'm actually looking forward to a little bit of couple of weeks where it's like a little bit more zen, whereas, you know, your phone's not ringing, the emails are not going, you know, crazy, etc. So I'm kind of looking forward to it.
But again with the momentum you built all year and how hard you've grafted, I think and also all your clientele are off. You know, and like there's also, I suppose, because I'm going 0 to 1 with Magnate, like there's that expectation of like, let's take those few weeks to get maximize, where people expect that there's no progress in the service-based game during those 3-4 weeks because everyone's on holidays.
It's kind of nice. You get to hide a little bit.
It's the only time of the entire year.
Literally, it's the only time.
You can't hide any other time of the year. So I definitely agree with you of taking that valuable time off, because you can. And we haven't always. So no, definitely good. Right, I have a couple of points. You have a couple of points.
Yeah, let's get rolling. Do you want me to go first on this one?
Shoot with first point.
Yeah, because you always kind of take the spotlight, you know.
Fire away, buddy.
Yeah, like this week, like what I kind of wanted to go into is like, as the end of the year is approaching, I think every business owner kind of reflects on how the year's gone and what's worked, what's haven't worked, where's there been success, etc. So I'm kind of been doing the same thing, kind of just thinking, you know, and what I've been like really realizing is I've been putting time and effort into parts of my business that mightn't have driven the rewards or driven like probably financially, but haven't driven, you know, revenues, etc. back to me. So I'm like now currently reassessing what I'm putting time into and what our business is providing for our customers, and seeing what services are profitable, right? And what services are driving where we want to go in the next 5 to 10 years. Because it is a marathon to kind of always look at. And I'm kind of come to the realization of I need to look at a little bit more of a pie chart, because we are providing multiple services out there, you know, hardware, software, education, everything like this. And I'm just reconsidering where to put my time and effort in that actually really moves the needle. So as you know, we've pivoted multiple times, starting Grafton from doing the social media, content creation, promotional videos for companies, you know, then we went into websites, starting from doing it on GoDaddy to going on to WordPress, and, you know, kind of really building across that vertical. But now I'm like, it's time to really see where my expertise are really driving results for our clients. And, you know, like Easter egg, like some of them are not particularly just building websites and putting them live. So I'm really, where I found my skill set really has driven results is when I actually get to work with that business and like help them innovate each department. And that's what I call digital transformation. And that's what one thing we've actually packaged up, you know, like 12 months ago, would you say a little bit, 12 months ish?
18 months ago,
last
year and a half.
Last year and a half. And it's only really starting to, the fruits of labor are only starting to show now, where businesses are really recognizing, you know, assistance with, like, they need assistance with AI, right? You're in this kind of vertical right now with Magnate. And you know, they need leadership, they need someone to come in and really help them transform their business and their different departments. So that's what I'm kind of doing, is reflecting on, okay, I'm coming up to Q4, I've reached my target for 2024.
Congratulations.
So I'm happy, my chairman is happy with it as well, you know. Because you know, before that we've had squeaky bum time where, you know, we weren't tracking, and we're like got the red dress moments of let's focus here, let's focus there. And I think that's so popular when, you know, you're kind of starting off in businesses. You're always looking at every opportunity and seeing what reward it might drive you.
Totally. But also I think that we always had the perspective, and it was always the way that we were driven by our mentors, our mentor, is that set very ambitious revenue targets, because
he's always raised the level for
us, because it's always in the desire of, like, if you shoot higher, you'll probably end up high, even if you don't hit it, or maybe you do hit it, which is amazing, but even if you shoot and get anywhere close to it, that's amazing, versus where you be tracking to, of where is comfortable, like where could you comfortably, and you always go double it, and that's where your goal is. And you probably would have tracked higher than you would have anticipated. Yeah, like I remember we were doing reviews with Gareth, and he was trying to like advise us, and doesn't matter what number we said, he always kind of doubled it. It was always double. You know, because we were always thinking about logically grow 25% a quarter, and like in reality, we were growing way faster, but also multiples every year. Also, we had a glass ceiling. We imagined this glass ceiling above our heads, and we couldn't jump any higher. What's realistic? What's realistic, right? Yeah. And then I remember you said, like, guys, I want you guys to aim for $1 million, and we were both like, that's like, how do you go from like 2, 3, 4, 5, 600,000 to $1 million in 1 year? Like, we've only ever been growing, doubling each year, etc. So it's like, how do you do it? Because what we touched on one of the last episodes was it's a recruitment issue. It's because, like, the whole business big service, time, it's a skill set, and what Grafton's been really good at, and what we've been very good at, is hiring good people, and then good staff retention. and in our heads we're like, okay, how the hell do we get that quality people at that scale to hit those targets and be able to have that turnover in that time period? It was never like, obviously the number gets scarier as you keep doubling it year on year, but what's actually scary is the logistical nightmare of actually handling on the back end with a service-based business.
Yeah, like, do you remember like last 2023, I think it was coming up to the middle of the year, and we've had like a little bit of US success, like starting to get, you know, I suppose some positive feedback from the market.
2 years after we launched in the US.
2 years, right? Like when we've done that, like in 2021, we went to the US and got that picture, and we got national coverage. I think we got picked up in some international pieces as well, but mostly national coverage. And it was actually, everyone was like, oh my God, the guys have made it. And it's like, in reality, that's when we were just getting started. Right? So there's always this like perception there kind of in the background, right?
We were just pushing, we were investing very heavily in the US and trying to get that coverage and get traction over there. Now, what the national coverage here, being in the big national papers, both here in Ireland and the UK, was that we actually got way more traction over here by launching in the US.
And that's why nearly like the US took like a pause, because we had to do so much fulfillment in the Irish market. It just like created this momentum and was like, we'll take it. We'll take it. We
not we're expecting.
No, we're expecting. We'll take it. And then in 2023, we got to refocus and going over there and, you know, building relationships over there. Like I think that was like transformational piece. But just my question to you was going to be, I think we necessarily discussed this actually. But when did in your head were you like, Grafton is working, or it's actually, you know, when like everyone gets this feeling of like, you know, even with Magnet now, is my effort actually going to turn into a reward? Am I actually going to get there? Was there like a moment you can remember that like when you've, you know, like I'll go with mine first, right? Like, and it was actually, I'm taking this leaf out of your book, right? It's like when we walked into the office in Clare Galway, and this was I think 2020ish, you know, with Office 5 Lakeview Point. We walked in and we've had a great team there working. And we were like out of the office on like meetings, or we went for like a walk to brainstorm or something like this. We always loved our walks and brainstorms.
Still love it,
But when we walked in and like everybody's like working there on like projects, and it was, you know, kind of making impact. And I was like, me and you both kind of looked at each other and it's like, oh wow, we've actually built a team here. They're actually coming to work. They're actually doing projects. We're actually like exactly in that environment that we wanted to create. That's where like I felt that, okay, this is working.
That's so interesting. I haven't considered this in so long, but I probably would have had the same, because we had talked about it at the time. It's definitely the same, because I think it was that turning point from you and I had to have our hands on absolutely everything, all decisions, all movement, to we hired people in different areas. And again, at that point, we're still like, the staff level was always increasing. We were always getting better and better people, you know, talking about like, a couple episodes ago, I talked about, you know, the rising tide lifts all boats. We were learning that process of that, like every hire was getting better and we had a higher and higher standard. But definitely when we walked in and we had like the social media department doing the social media bits, we had the website department doing the website bits, and we came in and go, hey guys, how's the last day been, or how's the last couple of days been? I remember the rush of happiness over me going,
we built something here.
This was a concept that we started in a classroom in Clare
next door.
And we now we have an office next door. I hadn't thought about that in so long. Like that's 4 years ago.
And I know I've gone off topic, but I only thought of it as like, when did it kind of settle in a little bit of affirmation or feedback from like the actual work is paying off in some capacity, right?
I was like,
that was such a positive feedback when I've just seen the team working, busy, making phone calls, doing everything like this, and I was like, we just went for a coffee or something. I was like, that's super cool. We built something that's actually like working.
I completely agree. I think that was definitely a big moment for both of us, looking at each other going, we have this nice looking office, we have this great team, they're handling the clients we put in front of them, and they're executing better than we could, you know, and like
100%.
And I think it's an interesting piece. I definitely think I took to it maybe a little easier than you did of the whole delegation piece. But I think I was
very bad at it. We talked about it last episode actually.
But I also think that trying to hire the whole piece for you was, I think over time it's very hard, we've had a very difficult early days to hire very good software developers. And then
we couldn't afford it.
You couldn't afford it. So you ended up being the best at that in our team. Whereas social media team, we had very good specialists.
Yeah.
But then I think once you understood that, hey, these guys are actually in their particular areas are way better than you could ever be or ever desire to be. Well, now I trust them. Now I can delegate. Now I can focus on what you're great at, which is obviously, driving momentum, driving leads, building relationships with both internal and external, all those kind of things.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting looking back that possibly wasn't your deficiency in delegation. It actually probably was more an issue with maybe the team wasn't just there yet.
Not yet. Yeah, good point.
I'll
take that. I'll take that.
Any small wins.
Any small wins, these days.
I know we got off track, but definitely that was good memory down memory lane.
Yeah, and I suppose just to conclude, my point, because we're just December is literally here, is I'm just reevaluating and just making small plans and just kind of planning the next 12 months where I'm going to be focusing my time into and where I want, it's the first time in a long time I really see a really clear path on what I want Grafton Digital to do. We're starting a new project called Grafton Labs. I will kind of publish a few things on that a little bit later in December, possibly in the New Year's. But I have good ambitions on that. I see a really good path on where I want to drive the next 12 months. And it's really come to that. I've looked at even a simple pie chart of where revenue's coming from in certain segments. And I'm that's where I'm going to be focusing on, right? Because I remember it was actually Andy Macken, he was kind of talking on stage, and I'm taking a leaf out of his book, but someone asked how do you know, that something is going to work, etc. And you're you got to look at the traces in success, and if you follow that, that's your recipe to actually get that result or that outcome that you might really want. So that's what I'm going to continue following and double down on myself and my gut feeling on where I think the future is and where I want our agency to really go focus on.
And I think you've enough data points to actually go and actually build on top of that, and we're talking about in the car and the way there. I think it's exciting. I think you definitely have a very good finger on the pulse, and I think it'd be interesting to see how that plays out in 2025. No
other choice but to win, right?
Or keep trying.
Keep trying.
I think I'll spin into, I think it leads nicely into my next point about kind of touched on your point about high value returns. But this point is inspired out of a conversation I had during the week with another entrepreneur. He's currently about 2-3 years into get a project up off the ground, hitting really good momentum. And he was talking to me about how he's tried to hire different high-level salespeople and high-level marketing people over the last couple of years. And all of it getting very low-quality leads. So the product, he has a hardware and software play to his business. And I suppose
the salespeople weren't driving the results.
So he was looking for let's say a company with multiple locations, where they're driving they're driving to a company with one location, but maybe a failing location, so it's not going to drive any revenue for them. And he reevaluated. He said, "Where's my strengths lie?" And he said, from his previous business, he's really good at building partnerships. And he goes, okay, how can I unlock this? Because that's where his strengths lie. So he went then to try and build strategic partnerships with people in his space that are complementary. Now he has, and I mean, one of the biggest companies on the planet.
I've seen that.
I need to bleep all that. But bleep all that, Martin. But they want to do a deal with him to buy the data about sales data, and then use all their 50 salespeople across the country just to sell his product as the go-to person. His salespeople could have never done that.
Oh,
bleep that as well. Okay, well, this might have to get chopped and changed. You want to also do a deal with them that they're going to be the official. They're going to sell his software. They're one of the large organizations in Ireland and one of the large companies in the world.
That's crazy.
But that's the reevaluation of where his strengths lie. So I suppose that really, I really considered in that conversation. I'm like, okay, what can I take for that with Magnate? So I started reaching out to all the biggest agencies in the service game and reaching out to them, and had some really good results on our wait list of building.
And you've got some positive feedback there on that already.
Totally. And it's interesting because for Magnate, let's say in the agency space, it's your project managers, team leads, executives, and owners, which is usually about 30 to 40% of the workforce in the service-based game. So, you know, if I sell to a company, if I'm talking to a company with 100 people, I'm going to get about 30 licenses versus talking to one person. So, so it's been really interesting that, like, if we're talking like value for time and trying to organize meetings, I've really invested on. I've talked to most of the big agencies now in Ireland, and I'm now going to, for December, January, turn my attention towards the US and the UK of talking to those really big agencies, and really focusing on that and build a wait list. Because I suppose the value for the demographic we're really going after is typically service based, typically receives about over 1,000 messages a week in a management position, and uses at least 3 to 4 platforms, which most people do.
Will your platform measure how many messages I get a week?
If you'd like that figure, but I don't know if do you want to see it?
No.
I don't think you want to see it.
I kind of know it.
I think it kind of hurt your feelings.
Yeah, probably would. I'd probably feel very inefficient.
Or if I showed you how much time you spend answering messages.
yeah, I'd probably get very upset, wouldn't I?
So I don't know if you want to see that, but if you'd like it, I can give it to you. Just that conversation really spurred a spark in my head, because I think with Grafton, we've always done a very good job of building some very strategic partnerships. And like they over time have spurred some really great results, and you know you plant seeds and you show up.
Yeah, but you got to wait. Like you got to be so patient until that one referral actually comes through, and you actually might get a reward out of it, right? Or you know, vice versa, that partner might come to you to do something else, But you got to be so patient.
And like again, I think even the last couple of weeks for you, one relationship you built with another entrepreneur, that
was a good one.
And like again, I know you can talk very lightly about it.
And I was very frustrated with that one for a while, and then it's just like came true. I was like, oh my god, that's like a great referral.
One of the largest contracts you've ever landed.
Yeah, 6-figure in 3 days.
Yeah.
Like I was like, that's like unheard of, like many times, right? And then you're like, oh wow, this just came true.
But up until then, it was a very from a commercial standpoint,
it was frustrating because it was a long like enterprise deals just take time, and you just got to be so patient. But like I said, look, we're a small business, we can't be waiting around for like long contract discussions or anything like this. It's because like our team is in high demand. So if I'm pausing the momentum or pulling the handbrake in my agency, like we have to kind of be nearly reinsured we're going to get the contract and the longevity and the value that we need in order to function as a business. Because my job is to invest in really, really high skilled individuals, and probably trying to get the best the raise outside out there to come in and work in Grafton and represent what we stand for. But like that's my challenge, so that's what I'm investing in, and that's why agencies get to charge, I suppose, different types of rates for different types of services, because we establish ourselves as industry or area specialists. So that's always been my thought, is like I got to be really good at building my team, and that's why I have to be a little bit ruthless when it comes to doing business and who I'm doing business with, because like actually, like once it's up and running, like to stay, the whole thing of like time is money. It's so true, because if I have people on my payroll sitting there doing nothing, I'm just waiting for something to come true, or like that's why like government tenders or anything like this, it doesn't suit my type of business, because it's just such long waiting lines, and the undefinite you're never definite that you're going to win the contract, because it's competitive, it's fairly judged, etc. So it's not something that's just going to be able to pay my returns based on my investment into my team.
Yeah, no, totally. And again, it's cash flow business, so you have to focus on that ruthlessly. And I really I appreciate you turned that on its head. I know a couple people told that too, that you tried to turn the gun back on them. They were trying to delay with legals and considerations and governance and whatever else. And you were like, guys, are we doing this, not doing this? Is this a pain point, not a pain point? Like cut the line, because I feel like there's this dance done a lot of enterprise sales of, hey, we're all gonna be nice to each other to our faces, but we're all just dragging our heels here. And like the reality is because I think as entrepreneurs we're so afraid to lose a deal, miss out on a relationship, money, opportunity, whatever it is. We're so afraid of that. And like the minute you can kind of know that actually I'm okay to walk away from this deal, even though this deal would elevate me, really get me in the right room, it's like you got to know your worth. And I think that develops over time. Like you got to eat glass at the start for for a long time, and long time. I want to reiterate that it's not like we've always just had the best of the best, but
I want to say, like, we were very lucky probably in the fact that our clients have always like invested in us, trusted us, and stayed with us. Like, client retention has been really, really strong for us over the last 6 years or so. But I suppose what I'm going back to is now that, like, I've obviously upskilled my team, I got to charge better, and I try. This is why everyone always chases a bigger contract, or the next level, call it. But overall, I just think it's what we gotta look at focusing in a bit better on.
Totally, but that was kind of one of my big takeaways of the week, of that conversation. Which I think could be valuable, and definitely gave me some thinking points of, like, okay, the conventional piece would be hire a sales and marketing team, but maybe it's, hey, how can I leverage people's current network? So I suppose for us then, some of my considerations who we've been talking to is, different associations, different consultants.
Distribute my product. Who's going to distribute my product and like for free?
Exactly. And like they benefit as well via commissions and referrals and stuff like that. So again, just give
them a free license for Magnet, right?
Yeah, well,
maybe whatever.
No free product. But the other
do I get a discount?
No comment. The other one I've been working on this week, especially with my New Frontiers pitch next week and my NDRC pre-accelerator showcase next week, is I've been spending a lot of time doing pitch decks over the last 2 weeks and really bashing my head against the wall about how do I convey this to a very general audience in the best way possible. How do I share my journey of the last year in 10 to 15 slides and get these people to arrive at the same conclusions I've arrived at with the same things I know in two formats. One pitch is 3 minutes and one pitch is 6 to 10 minutes. 3 minute pitch is very short. The other pitch is 6 to 10 minutes, which is a little better. And this is what I've been spent the last 2 weeks just bashing my head against the wall. And I think 2 points have kind of come up, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, because I understand that you've never really pitched for investment. You've more pitched always for the commercial side, and you're very good at it. So, two things that have really stuck out to me. One is that the more visual you can make the presentation, the better. But secondly, the pitch deck is actually the secondary point. The number one point is the storytelling of how you bring the people on that journey, because humans take in information. There's definitely some studies around this we can cite, but humans take in information at a multiples better rate through a story than if you go, here's the 3 points you need to learn it, versus, hey, let me tell you the story for 2 minutes and you'll be able to give me the points, no problem. Your attention and your memory of it will be way better. So what I've really been focused on is, how do I tell the story of kind of the last 6 years of how I arrived at Magnate, why I started Magnate, how I've ended up here, why I built this product, and why it has all these features, without just telling them that. And then the secondary point is the pitch deck is the visuals, it's the imagery, it's the thing that brings my story to life and makes it stick even harder. And even one of the slides we can stick it up here is I took a screenshot of my phone screen with 14 different apps, and then one screen with Magnate.
You've had 14 different messaging apps?
No, between Notes app, task management, and messaging.
Oh, fair, okay.
14 different apps.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because like you have WhatsApp, Telegram, Gmail, Outlook, Teams, Slack.
Notes on your phone. I have your reminders app on your phone. You've also, usually people have a ClickUp or whatever. I have Superhuman.
Monday.com, sometimes people have for like agency automation.
I have Superhuman, so like there's 11. There's 3 more there somewhere. I'm blanking.
Oh wow! Yeah, to be fair, it adds up.
iMessage, your text messages. So before you know it, and that's not considering that you might have 3 Gmails in the Gmail, or you might have 2 Outlook in the Outlook. So,
there's so many ways to reach you actually now.
So I showed that visual, which people have found very striking, and it's just been a case of like, in as little visuals or words possible, how do I convey my message to really people to get it at their core? And what I found anyway with Magnate is it's a very divisive product. People that don't deal a lot of messaging don't really get it. People deal with lots of messaging on lots of different platforms. You see the whites of their eyes and they go,
this is a big pain point for me. Especially operations executives, CEOs.
Anyone that kind of handles lots of messaging. But anyways, the point I was trying to get to is that there's that, but also pitch deck's very subjective. It's almost like art in the sense that you literally could have two advisors tell you two completely different pieces of advice, actually going against each other, and you go like, what the hell do I listen to, and who am I supposed to listen to? I suppose what I kind of come back to is, does it serve to show the strength of the pain point, or how does it serve the point of, is this the right solution that really serves the pain point in the best way possible?
Yeah.
Everything else will solve itself, really and truly, because all of it's really subjective, and keeping it simplistic. But what I'd love to hear from you is, on the commercial side, like obviously storytelling of like selling the story of a product that's getting up off the ground, and then keeping it very simplistic is very important in the pitch deck. In my perspective, from what I've learned, on an investor front, or like just getting people interested in a new idea.
Yeah.
What do you think about when you're putting together a pitch deck on a commercial front when you're pitching a deal?
Yeah, like I think there is, I think the way I always looked at a pitch deck is, like, I'm coming into a room, right? Let's just imagine we're going into a room and they've, they don't know us, so they're going to totally go off by that 3 minutes that, there's none of this. So it's Daragh or Erik is known in the local community, or he went to this school or whatever. So it's there's nothing. So you're coming in with your laptop pitch deck. There it is on the TV. Like, I think it's all about building the trust. Okay, so in that 3 minutes, how do I convey that the reason I came into this room for, right, is, for example, to raise funds off you, and usually investors invest into the entrepreneur first before the product, right? And like one of the things you kind of mentioned, it just makes me, spark a thought of, it's the whole thing of relatability is the connectivity. Yeah. So them being able to relate to the problem, to you, to your struggles, to your journey. And this is where storytelling is key, and got to be really, really able to train yourself into that, because it takes time, right? So some people are way better at storytelling than others. It's just the way it is, right? But that's what I would that's what I would strategically try to think of, like, okay, I'm coming into this room, I would do a little bit of research on who I'm pitching to as well. If that's public, sometimes it's not, but it's like, how do I connect with these people across me in that 3 minutes? So I'm building trust. Usually that's done by track record, experience, brands I'm working with, or I've worked with, revenue numbers to back up my work, has actually generated money, has actually impacted people. So that would always be my start of the presentation, right? Kind of in the middle field, I'd be talking about the whole pain point, and I actually that's a great idea that you've done, like before and after, probably, right? Now I didn't actually see your new presentation just yet, so I'm well overdue. Before Monday we got to look at it. But that's the middle part. I would be talking about the pain, and then towards the end I would think about, how do I engage my audience, right? So I think like a lot of pitch decks are like, this is who I am, this is what I do, and this is what I want to spend your money on, right? And like, imagine these investors see this, or these people that judge the pitch see this every day, probably 100 plus times or whatever it is, right? And it's like, how do I stand out a little bit, right? So like, I like to now, what I do in my end of my commercial slides is I ask different questions of like, have you guys tried to invest in digital before? What have been the returns? And I start a conversation, and suddenly we're talking about how my services will actually impact your business. And it just becomes so much easier then to converse, and kind of melt the ice, break the ice there in the room really quickly. And now we're talking about, when do we get started, or what's the next steps of your product, or what's your vision for this, etc. So I always try to just, how do I crack that connection? Yeah, and what we're talking about there, for anyone who reads up on entrepreneurship, what you do there is called assumed close. So, but before you end your pitch, you're assuming a close. You're like, I'm not even going to ask you if you want to get on board. We're talking about the future right now. Exactly.
And we haven't even rolled out. So the term is assumed close, which is a very powerful thing in sales. You go, instead of going, hey, do you like my offer? You go, okay, I told you what the value is here. We all know this is valuable. Right, let's start brainstorming the future. Let's brainstorm together what your perfect future looks like. And also, at the start of so I've done a few pitching courses over the years, and it's very common for someone, and you alluded to this in your piece there, people going, hi, my name is Daragh, and today I'm pitching X, magnate, whatever. But what I open my presentations with, and the one I'm actually pitching with next week, is, how much time do you lose each and every day managing all your messages and tasks? Silence. and people go, anyone who has that problem goes, oh God, yeah, like I spend so much time.
I'm on my phone all the time, you know.
And like, does it control you or do you control it? And the whole thing of Magnet is give you a grasp and get
It's a Steve Jobs type pitch.
And I really, and that is the first slide in my presentation is doing that. And I think it's interesting. I heard a piece before about when you ask a person a question, their brain can't help but answer the question. They actually can't control it. So if I ask you, what colour is your house? I've hijacked your head. You can't stop but answer.
Yeah, I just thought of the colour.
You know exactly what the colour is.
Yeah.
I take control of that. Whoever's asking the question is controlling the conversation. So when you ask someone a question, you take control of the conversation. But when you're being asked questions, you're on the back foot and you're being receptive. So I think it's a really powerful piece about actually using audience interaction. And you allude to it at the end of your piece. I suppose in like a presentation of like pitching to investors, typically the format is like I'll usually open with a question and maybe close with a thinking question of like, hey, what are one of them pondering on as they go into the next stage?
Yeah.
But again, questions are very powerful and again can be used in a commercial or investor pitch. And both are taking money on board, so there's this huge overlap.
100%, and you know, I'm hoping you're going to come home with a nice check next week. Whenever the results are out, because you know, I think it should suit their portfolio of investing. Like my kind of next point, kind of before we get to our audience question, we have a different person asking a question today.
The steak has been retired.
Yes. The mysterious person, our number one fan. I wanted to do, I feel like I've done it on the last podcast as well, but I wanted to kind of bust a little bit of a myth on kind of the perception of being busy, you know, and that it probably relates to Magnet a lot. You know, I think with using Magnet, people should be a little less busy, right? And be more productive. But it's like, I've had the absolute privilege to meet people and work with people at extremely high net worth levels, and you know, learn from them and just be involved in some of their businesses, helping out
some of the richest people on the planet.
Yes. And what I have learned, I've learned a couple of things, right? But one of the big things, like one of the big takeaways I've had, and we've talked about this in the car, is that none of these people have extremely busy calendars, doing meetings on top of meetings. And you know, a lot of people even like this day ask me like, oh, how do you have so much free time as such, right? And like, don't assume it's free time, because I'm thinking, or I'm trying to make my next move, right? So it's not necessarily free time. But nobody has these really busy calendars. You're not attending a meeting every 30 minutes. You know, that's usually like people that are really working in the business, right? But if you're a business person, you know, investing or making sure that your business is on track towards where you need it to go, you are way more organized and way more focused on what will move the dial today and what are the one or two things I'm going to do that are really going to make this shift. And like this takes enormous build up to get to this level, and totally, I put my hand up. I'm not at that level in any way, shape or form, of just being like having the luxury of only doing one or two things a day. But when I do have that free time, I tend to really practice what I preach, in that sense of, let me just focus in on actually doing some vision work, actually doing some marketing work, doing some things that might not have like a straight away like a return for me, but I'm betting on that 5-10 year run, right? So sometimes I'm just thinking of what my next move might be. But that's one thing I just wanted to say, because I was like everybody just asked me like, how do you have so much time, etc. And I'm like, well, actually you could manage your life a little bit better, and like if you take yourself out of the business, you can probably get better outcomes anyways. But yeah, that's like one of the things I've noted with you know, some of these billionaire people, of like, oh my God, you are actually just super focused on your they're so consistent, by the way, like with their routines, and like there's no like magic recipe of waking up early. But some people, if they're waking up early, they're waking up early every day. Doesn't matter if it's a Saturday, a Sunday, a bank holiday, it's just a day. And they're just extremely consistent, and that's one thing that I think a lot of people do lack. Like we were talking about this last weekend, is like if somebody measures like like themselves to you, and they're like, how have you gotten a little bit further than I have over the last period? Well, I work Saturdays, I work Sundays, I put an extra, call it 16 hours into my week. I actually utilize that time to do X, Y, and Z. And like, that's how you're actually able to move. You're building up, time for the future now, by working and by dedicating this time to that. But that's one of the things that nobody really sees, is that these people are actually fairly normal individuals. If they want to be busy, they're very, very busy, but they're busy with other things rather than just running around doing things that might not actually make a difference.
Yeah, like I think, and like relating this, obviously you're talking from more a stage of a scale up, like a business is massively scaling. I suppose like I'm relating this back to like a startup and like bare bones, no funding, getting going. Like it comes back to the point I made earlier that, okay, I could do 20 user meetings of one-man bands and try and get 20 individual opinions, or I could have one meeting with one agency with 200 staff and 30 licenses. And one is 30 minutes and one is probably 5 to 10 hours. And
but it's the same, but larger impact. If you get that 200, if you get a percentage of licenses there for your business, that's a huge win.
And I think that's where it feeds back to my point on, really strategically looking at it. Like I suppose the term is probably high leverage, but again, I think it also takes time of building your contact book, understanding business, because again, that's one thing when you get started of there's all these different terms. There's a sales department, marketing department, and
the reality you're everything at the start.
And I definitely think it's intimidating, and I think it's the thing of when you start something new, you have no idea how to do it efficiently, you have no idea the context. But I suppose it's the value, I think, for myself anyways, of starting something a second time, that I understand all the terms, I understand the game, and I'm obsessed with business. That's why I want to start this podcast, or one of the reasons I want to start this podcast is I love talking about business, and I'm really interested in the space. I love consuming content around it. But starting the second time, I'm like, okay, the tech, we're hugely developing a lot at the moment. I'm every other department. How can my time be used the most efficiently that I'm getting the highest ROI, the highest return on investment, and have the highest impact for us to lead into success going forward, and be creative with it. It's not black and white of I need to go door knocking and hope for a sale. It's like, okay, what if I reach out to the operations manager of the largest agency in Ireland and pitch the pain point, and what can that turn into? But anyways, I think that's just trying to, because I think a lot of people listening to this podcast are more kind of either looking to get started or earlier on their journey. I just want to relate every point we make back is it's convertible at every level. It's not just at a scale
100%. Totally agree with that.
And is there anything that you specifically introduced into your schedule? Because the one thing we were talking about today was like, if you have like say 2 or 3 huge value points a day, that's 90 a month, and 90 move the dial moments in your company.
You're good with maths.
Yeah, well, I did higher level.
I've never been blessed with this maths brain. I'm just like calculating that. Yeah.
Well, for anyone in Ireland, I did maths and applied maths, so a bit of a maths nerd. But
higher level as well.
Yeah, I did. you wouldn't do applied maths. You didn't do it. It was very tough.
I've done ordinary level maths.
And that's okay. We all we both end up here on this couch.
Yeah. You're still talking to me and I'm still talking to you.
Yeah, and that's the main piece. But I suppose with the move the dial moments, like, do you plan your week over the weekend? Like I know you're big on like high impact and high ROI at the moment. It's really prominent on your mind in particular. What way do you plan your schedule out for the week, or do you more like a moments reactively, or what way are you currently scheduling yourself?
I always try, like, I have trained myself to be very good at like knowing every part of the business, what's going on, and knowing where I need to be. So I'm not going to lie to say that I have this huge planned out week and calendar. Yes, I have meetings booked in. I try to create momentum, and when I have a quieter calendar, I don't just say these are empty spaces. I know the back of my head, okay, this is where I need to kind of dedicate time to. But what my job now is to be a support and kind of a support structure to my team and all the other functions that are kind of happening to our company at the moment. and I have no problem being one day wearing my finance hat, the second day, you know, if I need to go out and do a project implementation. So I have no problem doing any of that. But where I tend to really focus in now is like okay, I could be running around doing different things, but like where do I need to be in the business to actually, you know, make that impact or that necessary decision or whatever. So I am kind of at the moment jumping around. I have quite an unorganized schedule in one way, because I'm just trying to be in a lot of places where I want to be, to learn, you know, kind of on the ground and kind of always upskill myself, but also to be in tune with what's going on. Like, I think a lot of people are afraid to know what's going on in their business, and what they do is, you know, kind of run away from it, or just like apply that, oh, that's not my job. And like, okay, fair enough, warranted, it's not your job, or, you know, you might have gotten a really big company and you want to empower your team to be, you know, very autonomous, and that's totally fine. But I'm in the stage right now where I need to be in tune with what's going on, to make sure that, like, if we need to hire, we hire, and, you know, to really understand what's going on.
Yeah,
I suppose is what I'm trying to echo here. But that's what I'm kind of doing at the moment, and I don't have a recipe yet, or like a really high-end routine. I always try to like on the Sunday, I'm very, very much take my Sunday off. Yeah, and I've just gotten really religious about that, where I don't even go to the gym, or I don't do anything where it's anyway not what I really, really want. And like I don't just sit on a couch, do nothing, but like if it's just going for a walk, hanging out, going for a swim with you, or doing a podcast, whatever, that's fine. But like, I always try to switch off, and that switch off means I'm kind of game planning my week, my month, or my next, where it's like, okay, Monday morning, that's where I'm going to be hit with, that's what I need to do, etc. So I always try to really, really like get like back down to reality and pause over the weekend, but especially the Sunday is my benchmark, like, you know, on what I'm going to do for the rest of the week.
Yeah, no, I do the same, because I look at entrepreneurship as I'm going to play this till the day I die, and it's going to be it's I remember Mark Cuban comparing it to being an athlete. It's the only athletic pursuit, or like, you know, it's a psychological athletic pursuit of being an athlete. But instead of like having an expiry at 40, where, you know, most athletes have to quit at 35, 40, entrepreneurship is you keep going until you're sharp enough to stop going. You know?
Yeah.
And I love the concept of, okay, hey, hopefully I live to 80, 90, 100. I'm 23 right now, and I have the joy of getting to play this game called entrepreneurship for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really amazing piece. And I do the same. I take Sundays off currently to reset.
You need
focus.
to.
Yeah, well, again, like you just go hell for leather. Like Monday to Saturday.
Yeah.
Monday to Saturday is a work week for me. That's my work week, and then Sunday's my day off.
Yeah.
Unless something needs to be done.
And like for ages, like we probably felt a little bit guilty about taking like days off or etc. But the reality is you need to, and like we talked about this a lot of times, but like it is a marathon, not a sprint. There is sprinting moments where you need to be and there's no like time. It's every day is a work day, etc. And that's one thing, again, just to echo like what I've seen some real high net worth individuals do, is like they don't actually take days off. It's like they're always on the go, and it's just another day, another consistent day, and they will continue doing those routines that they've done on a Monday. That doesn't change on a Sunday. There's no sleeping in, you know, or if they're sleeping in, it's sleeping in every day, etc. So that consistency is just so unbeatable. And look, I haven't mastered that myself, or I haven't got to there yet, so I'm still like figuring it out. But that's another thing of like, well, it's actually, this game is just such a long game. It's, we're going to be in it for years. We just gotta have to survive and thrive throughout the times, right?
Totally. And I absolutely love what we do, and I'm very grateful to get to wake up every day and work on what I want to work on.
Yeah, you know? Right.
Very grateful, and I have been since I left school at 18. So, you know, and I know you've been the same. So again, very grateful for what we get to do, and a lot to learn. We're 6 years into this, and a lot more to learn, but very, very grateful for the experience we got to build to date, and that's why lucky enough to have these chats and get to hopefully share some value with some people as well.
100%.
Do you want to play out our listener question?
Yeah. So, okay.
What's one thing you each wish you knew before you started your companies?
What's one thing we wish we would have known before starting a company? Daragh, do you want to go ahead on that, or?
Yeah, it's interesting because the advice I always give people is just start, because I feel like people want to know that one silver bullet, that one magical piece of information it's going to allow them to set up their business and get going? Probably because I wouldn't want 17-year-old Daragh to know how difficult it is, because I think it might
it might really like affect. Yeah.
He might not want to do it. I think, and it kind of comes back to what we're talking about there. I think it's just keep showing up, and I think it's one thing I'm very good at. Is just I'm very consistent. I'm extremely consistent. I'll just block off and just keep going, put the head down. And again, at times in entrepreneurship, you need to look up. Like obviously in entrepreneurship, it's push, pivot, or put a bullet in it. And it's hard.
That's a really good one.
It's hard.
I've never heard you say that one.
Yeah, push, pivot, or put a bullet in it. And it's hard to know.
Back in the shed.
Yeah, it's hard to know which one to go for. But I think really and truly, if I was to boil down what you and I have done very well over the last 6 years, and what I think
we kept showing up every day. It doesn't matter if it was a rainy day or whatever. Yeah.
So if I could like talk to 17-year-old Daragh and I could only convey one thing to him that I think would help him even do better than we are here, and talk to Erik and Daragh at 17, 18, I think what I would say is, guys, just keep showing up. Keep. Because that allows for learning. It keeps allowing for just trying to keep the lights on. It just keeps allowing for, hey guys, there's a new day. It's a bad day. You've not done well. It's a bad week. It's a bad month. Bad quarter. There's the morning. The sun still rises. You're still going to be okay, and keep rocking and rolling. And you might just be on the verge of hitting gold. I know there's always that analogy of chipping away.
Oh, your man, chip in and
again, this is the thing.
Diamond at the end.
But in entrepreneurship, there might be nothing. And you never know what the payoff is going to be.
And that's why you got to know when to shoot it in the back. That's like one of the best decisions you can possibly make, is knowing when to call it.
And it's interesting because entrepreneurship is having, understanding you're going to put an ungodly amount of time into something, and you'll never know the payoff until it happens. You don't know how much the exit will be, how much revenue you'll do, how much you can possibly personally earn, what team you can have. But you just start the pursuit on the basis that you think something might come out of it. But you have no idea what it'll be.
Delusion.
And it's a quote I said to you in the car. It's a Patrick Collison tweet. The founder of Stripe said this. He said, realists will sound smart in the moment. Optimists will end up wealthy.
Well, I hope we're both bloody optimistic.
Yeah, and at times realistic. You know, and I think it's
yeah.
But anyways, that would be my advice is just keep showing up, because really and truly, any of the guys you've seen that have reached the top levels of business, they're the guys who kept showing up. They're the cockroaches that never could get killed, and I think that they're the ones that succeed.
Yeah, they're indestructible.
That would be my one piece.
Right. Yeah.
What's your piece?
Yeah, like if I was to go back and talk to 18-year-old Erik, I think I would really tell him to. I think when we started the business, I had lack of confidence in my ability, and
you should have. You're 18.
Yeah, 100%. In saying that, like, I really am appreciative of learning and experiencing everything firsthand, because that created that confidence. Now that's a driving force. Not to be reckoned with, right? But I really wish if I was to go back and say to 18-year-old Erik, I'd be like really believe in yourself and bet on yourself more. Like, I just don't think I've bet on myself enough at the start, and I feel like that really has created me not taking that much more of a risk or not believing in it, etc. So I just think I would just say very simply of make sure you bet on yourself and at all times, right? And just double down on that. So and also I would probably just kind of say a side note, taxes just come at you, and you really have to just accept it and pay it, and there's no way out of it. So I would also just kind of mention that in a nice level, right?
Every time we ever had a tax bill, Erik and I talk about it, it's almost as if someone's personally tried to put a gun to all of Erik's family and got him. And that's how badly he would take it every time.
I would not like getting blood out of a stone.
Like PAYE, PRSI, VAT bill, corporation tax, any type of tax bill, Erik would be as if someone has threatened all of Erik's family's life. He'd take it so personally, and every time I used to hate the conversation because we get
an email from the accountant of like, this is kind of what's owed, and you'd always get it, and you'd always come into the cash flow, and we do a cash flow meeting every Monday to see what's going on, and I'm like, Daragh, what do you mean this figure is like this amount? And you're like, Eric, this is how it works. You take in money, you pay out money. I'm like, no, there's something wrong here. Can we recheck every single one of our $20 subscriptions to see, can we pick off any more VAT bills or anything else? Yeah, no, it's funny. But like, look, I just...
Good advice to a young Eric.
It's just maybe just like grow up and just accept it. You know, it just doesn't get any better as you grow older.
I'm glad in your old age you're trying to learn some new lessons.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
I think that's another good episode. We're about 55 minutes in. Well, I suppose the audience will be the determining factor whether this is a good episode or not. But I've enjoyed recording it, so I hope you enjoy this episode.
Yeah, we'll see you next week, and that's episode 5 concluded. We'll see you next week.
Well, make sure you like, subscribe,
follow on Spotify,
Apple Podcasts.
We need to go on Apple Podcast. Is there an app called Podcaster or something? Someone said to me.
Yeah, it is Podcast. Yeah,
we
on all iOS devices.
We need to be going on that. We're posting on Instagram and everything like this. So
TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Snapchat.
We appreciate every feedback, and make sure you let us know how we're doing and what type of content you want us to continue making. But I think I love the format of this podcast where we just reflect and kind of bring on 2 points we discuss, and transparency is key here to try to share as much as possible. You've had a lot of things to bleep out in this podcast, of course, but like, it is what it is. But I'm enjoying it.
And if you desire to ask any questions, you can ping us on any of our socials or email us at buildfromscratchpod@gmail.com.
Oh, have we a Gmail?
Yeah.
There we go.
Or ping us on any of our socials and our DMs. So we're Built From Scratch on all on all platforms. So again, please engage. We're open to it, and if you have any businesses you want to discuss, we're more than happy to hear that as well. So anyways, that's another episode. Thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, thanks.
We'll talk to you next week.
See you next week.